Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Pizza Motorcast. This yours, Dave. I got a special guest, Pro Nitrous driver, Robbie Hunnicutt. How you doing, Robbie?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Oh, not bad at all. So, have you done the racing yet so far this year?
No, we missed the actual first race of the year due to some issues we had on the dyno. We couldn't get some parts fixed in time, so we ended up having to miss the first race, which was this past weekend.
Mm-hmm. So, how was last year? You know, with the COVID going on last year, did you get a lot of events in last year?
Yeah, we finished sixth in points in Pro Nitrous. We ran every event. I believe most of the events were either between Galat Motorsports Park and Virginia Motorsports Park due to the COVID. Those are pretty much, I think, most of the tracks weren't allowing fans, so they were having them at the tracks that were allowing them.
So, how are you looking for the rest of the season this year? You got a lot of stuff planned?
Yeah, we plan on doing the rest of the PDRA events, and then also doing some Northeast Outlaw. We'll probably do the second Yellow Bullet race. We won't make the first one. I'll be in Aruba that weekend. That was a makeup for last year's race, and I didn't realize it and booked a trip for Aruba for me and my wife. So we're going to end up, we'll be gone for that race. I didn't know that. I was actually telling everybody I'm going to be there. My wife had to let me know that no, we were going to be in Aruba.
Wow. So now let me rewind the clock with you, Robbie, and ask you how'd you get into drag racing in the first place?
I've been drag racing pretty much, doing some type of racing since I was probably 13, 14 years old. We raced BMX bikes, and then got into bought a '67 Camaro when I was 15, and just working on that. And as soon as I could get it on the road, I was headed down to Maryland International Raceway and Capital Raceway, and just started racing from there. And then I got into bikes, and I raced motorcycles I'm actually still racing motorcycles, but I raced motorcycles for about 25 to 27 years, I guess, before I got back into cars.
So with the Camaro, what were you doing, bracket racing?
Yeah, bracket racing and street racing and stuff. Just back then, it wasn't as big as street racing and stuff is now, but we did, a bunch of my friends had Camaros and Novas. A couple of them had Oldsmobile 442s, and we used to all get together and pretty much just for bragging rights, who's got the fastest car. And then, like I said, then just kind of gradually made it down to Budds Creek and Capital Raceway, and then started doing some bracket racing. I had a 1969 GTO that I raced for a couple years bracket racing. But it was, at that time I was like 19 years old. It was taking every dime I had to keep that thing. It was running 990s. So I ended up got rid of that and got into motorcycles because they were cheaper to go fast.
So now, when did the Legion of Doom come about?
We started the Legion of Doom back in 1990. Me and Ronnie Procopio and another motorcycle racer, Mark Person, we all got together and we were doing some what used to be back in the day AMA Pro Star, which was an all motorcycle organization. And we just happened to notice that there was a couple other people that had other groups that had team names, and they were getting a lot of publicity from the announcers and stuff about the team. So we decided to come up with a team for our group of guys, and I was a big wrestling fan as a kid, and just got to bring up and said, well, let's be the Legion of Doom. They were, when I was a kid, they were the baddest tag team guys, so said, that's going to be our name.
No. Yeah, I used to love the Legion of Doom myself. Yeah, I used to watch WWF and then WWE. Still watch a little bit. Watch a little bit now and then here. Yeah.
I've taken my I've taken my kids to go see them and stuff like that. But it's gotten so everything's so more of a, I guess, less wrestling and more acting and
Yeah.
More of the play theatric stuff. And I mean, which is fine. But I was more, even the WWE. I was more like I guess WCW and back when like Ric Flair and them before the WWE even really got big, before Hulk Hogan came around. That's the kind of stuff that we watched. Get up every Saturday morning at like 10 o'clock and watched wrestling. Just that's kind. There's only 4, 5, 7, and 9 back when we were kids. We didn't have 150 channels to choose from.
Yeah.
But we had a channel that had wrestling on it, so that's what we watched.
Yep. So now, when you started racing, on the track with that, what your first car you said was a Chevy, right?
Yeah, I had a '67 Camaro back when I was, like I said, 15. Had it till was about 17, 18, and then ended up with had a 1969 GTO, ran 990s, had that for a while, and then ended up going to motorcycles. Ran motorcycles up until 2010, 11. We went to Qatar and raced overseas over in the Middle East with the motorcycles, and then I came back from there. I ended up getting a divorce. 2012, I sold my motorcycles and decided I was going to go car racing. So I ended up, I found a local guy around here, had a Vanishing Point Cavalier, ended up buying that, and that's kind of how I got back into the cars and ran that thing for a couple years. Just doing local stuff. I did some PDRA races, tried to qualify for Pro Nitrous with it. I think we qualified maybe once or twice. It was basically like a 4.0 car, which we were usually right around the bump spot, and ended up getting rid of that car, and I bought a Wally Stroop. I had Wally Stroop build me a brand new, back in 2017, had him build me a new Mustang. The 2016-17 Mustang body came out, and I tried to buy one that Jerry Bickle had, which is actually the one I have now. I tried to buy that car. Couldn't work the deal out on that at the time. I couldn't even afford it. I didn't realize what he was getting for him, and ended up going down to Wally Stroop and thought I was going to be saving a bunch of money. And you learn a lesson that sometimes just because it's cheaper doesn't mean it's going to be the same quality or the same, going to work as well. So ended up had that car for about a year, sold it, and bought the car I have now, which was the actual car I was trying to buy from Jerry Bickle. And I've had that for the last 2 years.
Now that's the GT500?
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely a work of art. I tell you, Jerry builds an excellent car. I've had 3 different cars, Vanishing Point. Not that any of them build a bad car, but just the workmanship on this thing is just is phenomenal. We pretty much haven't had many runs that we haven't went down the racetrack, but it just seems to be able to take almost anything we can throw at it.
So what year is the car?
It's a 2016. The build was 2016. It was actually originally built for Mike Castellana, and then Mike got the blower car deal. He was racing still racing for Alanabi Racing, and this car was built for him. It was on Competition Plus. They posted a picture of it. I kind of fell in love with the body style, and I just wanted something different than just a Camaro. It just seems like every class has turned into Camaro City. So I was like, I wanted something different, something that stood out, and I just, once I saw that, I was like, I had Mustangs growing up. After that, I got out of racing cars. I had a couple Mustangs from '86 all the way up to 2002. I had Mustangs during those years, so I've always been a Mustang fan.
So now, what do you got under the hood of that Mustang?
947 cubic inch Sandy Wilkins racing engines. It's got CFE heads, CN block. It's a bad piece, that's for sure.
Now, what kind of tires you run? Hoosiers?
Yeah, we run Hoosiers. We run a 3-speed Lenko. We've got a Neil Chance lockup converter. We also have a Cohen lockup converter. Also, we switch back and forth depending on track conditions. It seems like pro mods, pretty much everybody kind of sticks to either 400s or a Lenko. We had a Liberty. I think we were probably one of the first to try running. We had a 5-speed Liberty when they first came out. Ran that for a season, but just everyone was telling us that they were going to, there's no give in those things. It's basically just, direct drive kind of deal. And everybody was saying they were going to start tearing up rear ends. And we ended up, when we bought this car, just, my heroes, Ricky Smith, and I got the car. This car was actually that I have was going to be Ricky's for a while, and then he decided to go in a different direction. So when I went down to pick this car up, it was at Ricky's shop. I was just talking to Ricky about what I should do, and he told me the first thing I needed to do was get rid of that Liberty. And I tell you, if the guy told me to take a scrap and put it on my hood, that's probably what I would do. That's what would what would make it run fast.
Yeah. So what's the fastest pass you made in the new car?
We've been 372, 199. That was last year. Hoping this year we should be, with all the changes we made, if everything comes out to plan, I'm thinking we'll be in the mid to lower 60s is where we're hoping to be.
Now you only do 8th mile racing, right?
Yeah. There's not really much quarter mile stuff since Northeast Outlaw switched over to 8th mile. The only thing really you can do is, maybe they might have a local track or something, might have something going on, or maybe a match race or something. But other than that, unless you go NHRA, and that's a whole nother ball game over there.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'd end up doing something like that. I actually talked to Ricky about renting one of his cars one time, but I think that's a little bit out of my league and what I'm willing to spend to go racing.
So now, when do you go racing, Robbie? Who are your crew members?
Donnie Thompson's my crew chief. He's been my crew chief since 2016, I think. Yeah, 2016, 17, Donnie became our crew chief. We actually met when we were over in Qatar racing together. He was racing 10.5, and I was racing Pro Extreme motorcycles. And we got to talking. He's from Virginia. I knew his crew guy at the time. I knew him, so it kind of got us talking. And my other crew guy, we got T. Parker. He's been with me for the last 30 years racing. I pretty much don't do much racing without him. And Randy Hoffman, he's Donnie's right-hand man. Pretty much can do anything on the car. He's a racer himself. He's got a badass no-time Nova that he races. And then you got my wife. She pretty much handles everything, taking care of us at the track. I've got a couple other buddies, Johnny Mulligan and Gary Klontz, my brother, a bunch of those, a lot of family members and stuff come to the races. I mean, if it's a race within a couple hours away, we'll get 15, 20 people that show up to either help or just hang out and watch.
Do you have any sponsorship at all?
Yeah. This is the first year that I've ever really asked for any help. I don't know if I don't do this for a living, so I've never really tried going out and asking people for help. I've had a couple with the motorcycle stuff. I had a couple like sponsors that would help with products, pistons, things like that. Diamond Pistons has been a sponsor of mine since 2008. They currently now help me a little bit with stuff on my car. I've got strutmasters.com came on board this year. That's going to be a pretty big deal for us to have, somebody with a name like Strutmasters. They seem to be, anybody they seem to help seems to do really well. Had Johnny Placino won a championship last year. What's the guy's name? I think Justin Ashley just got Rookie of the Year in Top Fuel. He's got quite a few sponsored drivers out there that are doing pretty good, and I thought it was, maybe some of that would rub off on us and help us get over the edge. We've got F&M Fire Extinguisher Services, our local company here in Maryland that the guy I went to school with. He was a running back on my football team when I was a quarterback in high school, and we kind of not really lost touch, but we kind of stay in touch a little bit. Facebook kind of helps. He actually came down to watch a race last year and kind of liked what he, just kind of, I could tell he kind of liked hanging out the track and he, enjoyed himself. He's got a couple kids, and his wife was, we all went together. They've been high school sweethearts since they were, in 10th, 11th grade, I guess. And then I've got Cliff Heaton and Air Conditioning. He's another guy that was on my football team back in high school. He's got a pretty big heating and air conditioning company down here in Southern Maryland. He came on board, gives us a hand, and then we've got R&B Racing, which is a local company down here. He does a lot of motocross type stuff, but he helps us with. He's a VP fuel dealer, so he gives us a lot of help with that. Got Full Spectrum Power, which is a lithium battery company based out of Alexandria, Virginia. They build baddest batteries I've ever seen. We've tried pretty much every battery on the market with these cars, and just for a battery that the weight that this thing weighs and basically how fast this thing can spin this 940 cubic inch motor over, never let us down. Can't say enough about them. If anybody needs a battery, definitely look into Full Spectrum Power. Again, like I said, Diamond Pistons, got Wilkins Racing Engines. My mind is probably the best engine builder out there. He used to work for Roush Racing, was a 2019 or 2020, was NHRA Top Sportsman Champion, World Champion for the Top Sportsman class. And we actually met at a PRI event and kind of hit it off and just kind of started talking about, I was looking for an engine builder that would kind of, basically I could be the number one guy there at his shop. He didn't have anybody in Pro Nitrous. He was kind of just getting his new shop opened up after Roush Racing kind of, I guess they basically disbanded the drag racing part of Roush Racing, and he had, I guess, was there doing some NASCAR stuff with them too. So he learned a lot of stuff over there and has brought it over into the drag racing world, and we hopefully are going to show off what knowledge that he has. Just talking to this guy, man, I try to be like a sponge and just soak up everything he talks about, because it's just amazing that he's almost, I almost feel like I'm standing next to Rain Man, can just throw out numbers back and forth, and it's pretty good. He's a great guy.
So now, what do you enjoy most about being a drag racer, Robbie?
I love the adrenaline. I'm an adrenaline junkie, if there is one. I've never done drugs my whole life. I've had people in my family and family members, friends, and everything that have went down that road, and my drug of choice has always been speed. I've always just nothing's ever fast enough. I'm always looking for to get into something faster. I've tried everything from jumping out of planes. Pretty much there's not much that I won't try once. Jumping out of a plane is probably the most exhilarating thing you'll ever do, in my mind. But drag racing is this, especially pro mod cars. Every run is a different. It's just something different. You let go of that button, you just don't know what's going to happen.
So, how was your first time experience driving a pro mod?
It was good. I think my third pass ever, I think I went like 403, and I was ecstatic. I was like, oh, this is pretty simple. And then it kind of grabs you and brings you back down to reality. The one thing you got to realize is everybody in racing these cars at some time or another has something go wrong, crashes a car or whatever. The best guys in the industry and the best guys racing out there have crashed cars. A lot of times you end up crashing one of these cars because you overdrive